It's time for the Scoreboard with Greg Glasscock.
Welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Blitz, the Scoreboard with Mr. Greg Glasscock. How are you doing, Mr. Greg?
Great, Chris. How are you today?
Not too bad. Just busy as always. So let's jump right into it. I know we're closing out on some of the football season. One of the teams we want to highlight that we really didn't get to touch a lot on, we've talked about them some, but we've not given any updates in the last week or so, is the Boaz girls flag football team. So I know we updated that Aberville had been put out of the state playoffs, but Boaz is still going. They played Winona here about a week or so ago. They beat Winona 27-6. So now they play John Carroll Catholic today at 6 o'clock on November 20th. So if they win that game, they'll move on to what looks like the semifinals against Moody. So that team is doing really, really well. I know they've been kind of highly ranked pretty much all year, Greg. I don't know if you've heard a whole lot about them or not. So
they're very good, and I got to catch on the radio the last part of the Winona game, and I don't see why this team couldn't go all the way, really.
Yeah, definitely. They're a very talented team, very well coached and everything like that. So I know Coach Bowen is, I'm not sure if he's the head coach or if he helps with it. That's the girls basketball coach, but I've talked to him some back when we did an interview with him back about a month or so ago, and he was talking about doing it then and how talented this team really was and how well they had looked during the season at that time. So want to wish the Boaz Lady Pirates flag football team good luck today, and hope they do really well as they continue on and represent the county in this area in flag football in a sport that's up and coming. And I'm looking to see, what other teams join up here in the next year or two and put some girls together, because it's starting to become very, very popular. I know some of the schools that are smaller schools, it's a little tougher on them because a lot of their girls tend to play volleyball during this time, and so they can't really pull them from that. But it'll be interesting to see what all schools are able to field some teams to go forward with this. So, but with that, let's jump over into last week's football for the boys' side and kind of give some updates. So last week, Geraldine and Westbrook would play. Geraldine would beat Westbrook 31-15. So they're going on to play returning champ Mars Hill Bible at Mars Hill Bible. What is tomorrow on the 21st. So they're going to play at 7 o'clock tomorrow at Mars Hill. Going to be a tough game for them, Greg.
Yeah, I see Mars Hill repeating, and I said at the beginning of the year, I don't see anybody knocking off Mars Hill. I know you'll get to Scottsboro, which is still alive. And Mars Hill came down to Scottsboro at the end of the regular season, and that game was never in doubt. So it's a very strong 3A team that can compete with really any classification, I feel like.
Definitely. Yeah, they're a really good team, and we saw what they did to Scottsboro. So. But you can never count out Geraldine. That's the one thing Geraldine has really made a point of. Many times when they were counted out against Fife, they beat Fife. When Fife was picked to win state several years, they beat Fife. So you can never count Geraldine out. So I'm not counting them out. But no. I will say this, it is going to be a very tough game for them to pull off if they can pull it off. So I will want to wish them good luck.
Are able to pull this one off, that might be their toughest test on the way to the finals if they make the finals, because I don't really see anybody from the southern part of the state being better than Mars Hill.
No, I don't either. I think the only other team they're going to have their hands full with would be Piedmont. And kind of touching on that, Fife played Piedmont last week. Now, the score doesn't really reflect some of the things that happened in the game. Fife lost their starting running back. Gibson went out midway through the second quarter, they said, with an injury, and so that pretty much wrapped it up for him for the game. So he never did come back. But Piedmont would end up winning 36-0 over Fife. A little fact here, just to kind of throw out there for them. Greg, do you know when it was the last time that Fife was shut out?
I heard that for some reason. I don't remember the number that comes to mind. Was it way back in 99? Something like that?
So kind of, it has ties. I wasn't on that football team. I only played 1 year of football at Fife. It was the year before Benefield got there in 97. But Benefield was there my senior year, which was 99, and that was the last time we were shut out at 5, was in 1999.
A long time.
So that tells you the kind of legacy that he has built there and what he's done to be able to go that long without being able to get anything on the scoreboard at all. So very tough loss for Fife, though. Great season. Wishing them the best as they go forward and prepare for next year. I know these guys are moving into basketball and all now. So, you got Piedmont and Gordo now going to play tomorrow night. The winner of that will play the Mars Hill Bible Geraldine game. So that pretty much will have us there for 3A. So want to wish Geraldine good luck going to Mars Hill tomorrow. Safe travels for all those guys, the fans going over. And we'll be tracking that game to kind of see how they do and give some updates next week on it. So with that, let's jump back over to 4A. So with 4A, we had West Morgan and Good Hope on the north side, and Plainview and Alexandria on the north side that was left there to play each other. And so West Morgan would lose to Good Hope, which was a little bit of a shocker to a lot of people, honestly, Greg. I know Good Hope is actually, they're a pretty good team, but a lot of people was picking West Morgan to win this game based off of how they finished in region. They had beat Deschler, and Deschler was kind of a high pick to kind of be favored to win the state. And they had beat Deschler pretty decisively earlier in the season to win the region. But Good Hope would win this game 31-7. So then you would have Plainview and Alexandria playing to get into the quarterfinals here. Plainview would pretty much dominate this whole game. They won 42-14, so just never really was close. So the Pruitts are pushing it again. So Dale and Jeremy up there just really putting it in. So I'm really interested to see. They play tonight. Plainview actually plays tonight at Good Hope. So I'm curious to see tonight, how does Plainview line up with them. I'll be honest with you, I would favor Plainview.
I would too.
It's hard to go against a guy that is a defensive coordinator for a high school team that was once a D1 defensive coordinator for multiple national championship teams.
Yeah, and I don't really think Plainview's flying under the radar anymore. And, are undefeated. But I just really, through the regular season, I didn't hear a lot of people talking about the Bears.
No.
But now, and I really thought the Alexandria game, I thought Plainview would probably win, but I thought it might be a last possession game. But that game was on TV. It was the game of the week, and I got to catch bits and pieces of it because I believe I was also at a basketball game while that was going on. And I don't think it was really ever in doubt.
No, it wasn't close at all. I mean, Plainview jumped out early on them and just never looked back. So, I see this one maybe being a little closer than that game, but I'm still going to think Plainview beats them by 2 touchdowns, honestly.
Good Hope, I want to say last game of the regular season, correct me if I'm wrong, in that non-region league at home, they almost beat Fairview.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was like a 14-7 type game or something, and I think they had the lead. So, I know you'll talk about Fairview. They're on a roll, still undefeated. So,
yeah.
Being at Good Hope, it's going to be a tough test for Plainview, but Plainview to me almost seems like one of those kind of teams of destinies right now,
I would say Plainview, if I'm picking somebody out of these last few teams that are left here, the last 8 teams that are left, if I'm picking a team to go to the finals, I'm picking Plainview.
Yeah, they're loaded. That quarterback's a real deal, the way he runs the option.
Oh, yeah.
He's good. Owen Hope, I think, is his name.
Yeah, but it's the defense for me, man. I mean, you go back and look. I mean, their defense has been phenomenal. They're holding people under 20 points a game. Yeah. When you only got to put up 3 touchdowns to win a game, that makes it a lot easier for you. You know what I mean?
Yep. So I definitely favor them, but I think it'll be a good game tonight.
Yeah.
Whether there are several games being moved to tonight.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. So with that, let's jump over back to 5A. And we'll finish up the boys football here. So last week we were following several games in 5A. Just kind of going out of that. So Briarwood Christian and Russellville would play. Briarwood Christian won this one convincingly. They won it 42-7 over Russellville, so never was real close. The Moody Priceville game, like we talked about, Greg, we called that one. We figured that one would be a big game as well. Moody won that one 60-14. So Briarwood and Moody will play tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And so what's your thoughts there? Who's you pick on that one, Greg?
I mean, Moody's coming out of the north is the way I look at it. Until somebody proves me wrong or they've some, I just, there's some good teams left. And I thought Moody would beat Priceville, but I didn't think they'd hang 60 on them. To me, that was a statement game. And, I think Moody's going probably to the championship game out of the north.
Yeah. Moody's heavily favored right now in this game. I mean, like they're heavily favored in this game. So going into the top of that bracket, you had Jacksonville at Fairview. We felt like this would be a close game, and it really was a close game up until it got in the fourth quarter, and then Fairview just kind of broke away. Fairview would end up beating Jacksonville 28-13. So they would go on, and then Scottsboro would play St. Clair County. And we talked, Greg, we were kind of curious what team would show up from Scottsboro. We thought St. Clair would give them a shot, but St. Clair, apparently they just didn't have enough to be able to do anything against Scottsboro's defense because it was 42-6 Scottsboro.
That's another game I thought would go to the wire just simply because St. Clair came in, I want to say, with just one loss, a great season. But I tell you, Scottsboro came out, kicked tail, and took names in that game. There was no doubt there. That might be the best overall performance, I would assume, that Scottsboro's had all season.
Yeah, so that makes it where we've got the Fairview Scottsboro. So you got both the region champs from 7 and 8 facing each other tonight. They actually moved their game up to tonight. So what's your thoughts there, Greg? Because it's a 50-50 split, what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it could go either way. Fairview, I really haven't given those guys enough credit all year. They seem like another one of these undefeated team of destinies that, toward the end of the season, they very well should have got beat at Sardis, and then they struggled with Good Hope. And, they kind of almost, in my opinion, limped into the playoffs. I know it sounds weird being undefeated, but they weren't playing their best, ball at the end of the season. But seems like they got it back together. I would, this is one of those matchups, Chris, I would favor the home team. Either way, probably give them a 3-point edge or whatever if it was a betting line. So I think you got to go with Fairview playing over there. But I could see it either way. But I would favor Fairview slightly.
I'm gonna go Scottsboro at least by 10.
Oh no.
Because here's why. I can't go against Scottsboro because to me, this team is like a championship. This class, period, is like a championship class. When we went and watched the Gunnersville game, if you remember, and they announced how many state championships this particular class has won over the years, has just blown my mind. And I can't get away from that and watching how that every time they've had a big moment, they've stepped up and they've won. And I'll be honest with you, the playbook's been put out there. Arab has showed how you can slow down Fairview and be able to keep them under 14 points if you can do it. And I really feel like Scottsboro could do it. They have the defense to be able to do it. That's why I say I think they beat them by 10. The only way Scottsboro loses this game is if they get into a turnover like craze fest and they turn the ball over entirely too much and Fairview beats them from that. Because now I'm not going to back off Fairview. Their defense is still good, but I just don't know that they have anything other than Harper to be able to go up against Scottsboro's defense.
Well, you've seen Fairview multiple times this year in person. I haven't seen them any, and as great of a running attack as they have, they are going to have to be able to pass, and I don't know how good they are passing, but if they're one-dimensional against Scottsboro, that could be a huge issue, and it might come up to be Fairview's defense against Scottsboro's offense. So, if Fairview is totally one-dimensional, that could be a problem. If Fairview's running back is able to get going the way he has most of the season, then I think actually Fairview could run away with it.
Yeah. I had some time this week to coach up with Coach Routon from Arab and talk to him for about 5 minutes. just to kind of I'd let him have some time to kind of digest after the Fairview game and talk to him. And he said, defensively, we've done a really good job. We contained him from the outside. They changed their defensive scheme to be able to contain Harper on the outside. And he said, we basically forced him in and we were able to do what we wanted to do. And he said, but then they decided, hey, we're just going to pound it right between the tackles. And he said, then that's when we kind of lost that battle a little bit. He said, because we had one of our key defensive linemen we were utilizing that night went down in the second quarter, and they couldn't put him back in on defense because they needed him for offense. So with that kind of put a little bit more of a strain there from where they were getting a big push in there on the defensive line. And so he was able to gain more yardage there, busting in between the guard and the tackle on some plays. But I still think Scottsboro's defense is well enough that they can slow them down. Even the passing attack, their secondary is very strong. So I think they win it by 10. I would almost edge and say by 2 touchdowns. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I just don't think Fairview has anything other than Harper. And if they do, and the quarterback comes out and say it, hey, I'll say it next week. Hey, I was wrong, and give them props.
Well, I guess one of us will come back and say we're wrong. You could Fairview. I'm gonna give them the slight favorite. If it was at Scottsboro, I'd give them the slight favorite. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be either way a one possession game. Now we could come back next podcast and Scottsboro beat them by 3 touchdowns, and I'll just have to eat a little crow if that's the case. But it's also tough for me to predict, too, when I have not seen both teams in person.
Yeah.
And I have not seen Fairview in person. Scottsboro is an impressive team. They did good job on shutting down, Gunnersville. Of course, Gunnersville, to me, won the first half of that game against Scottsboro, and Scottsboro came out, just wore them down. They dominated the line of scrimmage and then pulled away in the second half of that game. So I know what Scottsboro is capable of doing, but we'll just see. They're going to have to play 4 quarters of ball to beat Fairview.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be 4 quarters.
Yeah, I say that because if Scottsboro plays the way they did against Gunnersville, even though they won, Fairview will win the game. Because to me, Scottsboro did not play 4 quarters against Gunnersville. And I guarantee you, Fairview at home, they're hungry. Usually they never make it past around this round, second, third round. They're going to play 4 quarters of ball. So Scottsboro is going to have to match Fairview's intensity, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Like I said, even if I say I think it's 10 or 14 points, it's going to be a good game. But I very well think it could be one of those deals of it's close up to the fourth quarter and then Scottsboro pulls away. Kind of like Fairview did with Jacksonville last week. Is kind of the way I'm seeing it. I think just in the long run.
Yep. Should be a good one, though.
Definitely. So let's change gears. Let's get over into some basketball. And let's kind of catch up on where we're at going into this week. So let's look at Brindley Mountain. So Brindley Mountain's girls are what we're seeing right now, and there's one game, a couple games on here that's outliers that are not on there, but they're showing 2-2. Again, there's a couple games that we're waiting on. One being the Valley Head game. Then of course tonight they play Woodville. So they're looking pretty good there. Boys side, let's look at the boys side. The boys are showing that they are 3-2. They had a big win against Valley Head on the 18th, and they'll play Woodville tonight at Woodville. So that's Brindley Mountain. So let's jump over into Boaz. Now Boaz on both the boys and the girls side, Greg, I don't know I think you got to go watch them play Gunnersville. The boys and girls side, man, the girls are cooking right now. They're 4-0. They don't play again till tomorrow night. They have Arab at home tomorrow night. That should be a pretty good game based off what I saw with the Arab Aberville game the other night. So, be interested to see how that one kind of plays out. Boys for Boaz, they are 2-1 right now. Their only loss coming to Gunnersville on that opening night. They'll be hosting Arab at home tomorrow night. Then with that, let's jump over to Asbury. Asbury's girls are, from what I'm seeing right now, I'm only seeing a couple scores in here. So they're 1-2, but they've got 2 that we're waiting on them to jump in and add up. and they play, looks like Westminster Christian at Westminster Christian tomorrow night.
I know, and I don't know, Chris, if it's updated on what you're looking at, but I did get a glimpse of, I can't remember what night it was. Maybe it was while we were at the Arab Albertville game. I want to say Douglas played Asbury that same night, and Asbury's girls did win.
That's right. I did see that. Yeah, they won like 37-25 or something like that, wasn't it?
Low scoring, about 10 or 12 points, but yeah, Asbury's girls did beat Douglas. And
that's right.
That surprised me a little bit, which I know you'll get to Douglas. Douglas has a young team, but that kind of shocked me a little bit when I saw Asbury beat Douglas girls.
Yeah, and that's one of the scores that's not showing in there that's being reported. But yeah, I do remember that now, seeing that the other day that somebody had shared that they had won and beat them. So yeah, that tells you a little bit of something about Asbury. They've always had a pretty good little team there. I mean, they got a great coach. So be interested to kind of see how they play out the rest of the year. But that was definitely a big win for them. So over Douglas. So. Asbury's boys, they're showing right now they're 1-4. Their last game against Douglas, they lost it. They'll be at Westminster Christian tomorrow night. Jumping over into the Douglas side, like Greg was just saying there. I'm only seeing 2 games that are reported right now, but they did have that other one. So as of what we're seeing, they're 0-3 right now with that loss to Asbury. Looks like they play at Hayden tomorrow night. Then Douglas's boys, they've only got 3 games that they've played so far. Their last game was at that game against Asbury at home, and they won it. But they're 1-2 on the year. They had a loss against Etowah and a loss against DAR to open up the year. And again, they'll be playing at Hayden tomorrow night. So jumping over into Guntersville, Greg, if you want to give us a little update. I know looking at it here, shows that Guntersville's girls are 5-0 and the boys are 2-0.
Yeah, that's correct. I haven't seen the girls yet. I hear this team could actually compete with Albertville's girls, which that'll be a dandy of a game when they play each other in a couple weeks. But girls are off to a 5-0 start. You know, they went to Gulf Shores and won a couple games, and they've also won at Bay Jemison. What was really an eye-opener the other night at home, I didn't get to make it, but they beat a 7A Vestavia Hills team, and then the other night they just went to Madison Academy and won. I want to say, Chris, in all their scores, the closest game has been 20 points, and that was against Madison Academy. So they're dominating. They have 6A Buckhorn tonight. Buckhorn's girls are also undefeated, even though I don't know much about them. On the boys' side, Guntersville boys only played 2 games to come from behind victory at Boaz, and then over the weekend I went to see them defeat Randolph, a game they didn't shoot well. But obviously they shot better than Randolph did, came away with an 18-point victory. They play an undefeated Buckhorn team tonight that has a player that's committed to UAH. It's a real deal, so should be some good ones. It'll be my first broadcast tonight, so I'll be there on the call for both the girls and the boys. Coach Self actually did an interview with a radio station yesterday that I got to listen to this morning. And on the boys' side, it's a lot different team than what people are used to. Not a lot of bigs, or a lot more guard-oriented. Going to have to live and die more, shooting from the outside, I guess you could say, even though they'll have a little bit of an inside presence, not what they've had in the past with the guys with a long reach and all. It's a lot when you lose, Trayvon Avery, Cam Logan, all those guys in the middle. Kalen Cobb will be able to fill in well. He still has a little bit of rust he's knocking off from football, but he's going to be a force. They only have 10 players. So when I went to see them play Randolph the other night, all 10 are probably going to play pretty much every game. That's just the way he's doing it now, and all contribute. Against Randolph, they only had 1 player in double figures, but everybody but 1 player scored. So I think it's going to be kind of a scoring by committee type deal, and you might have a different leading scorer for the boys each night. And there'll be some growing pains, and, Coach Self was asked about, the way he's scheduling up, and he said, he could schedule a cupcake tonight and win and have a pretty gaudy record going into area and all, but, to get ready for postseason and all, you might take your lumps, but he's a firm believer in scheduling up. And, got Buckhorn tonight. He actually texted me this morning, added on a game Monday afternoon against Fort Payne, which is a 6A team, and they play some other, larger competition through the season. So yeah, it'll be an interesting year for the Cats. Just a whole different look. A lot of the JV guys from last year are on the team this year, having to really step up and make an immediate impact, because there was a lot of losses to, graduation last year.
Yeah. And then you had some that can't play because of commitments to football and stuff. So
not playing. He was a contributor last year, but I think he shut down with his football commitment to Cincinnati. So it's a whole different look team. I thought it was funny on the interview. Coach Self said they're not going to intimidate anybody coming in the gym because there's a lot of size. You look at them and you probably think, can this bunch really play ball? It's just not that intimidation factor. But hey, off to a good start, even though they had to come from behind, double digits down in the game against Boaz, and then they pretty much led Randolph start to finish. I don't know what'll happen tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if they won, and it wouldn't surprise me if Buckhorn wins, because Buckhorn's a legit team. So we'll see. And, they got a couple big games a week after Thanksgiving, both at home. They'll host Gardendale, which I don't know if they've ever played Gardendale before. I believe the reason why they're doing a home and home this year with them is because the ex-athletic director is now down there. So I figured there was something going on there. And then you got to mark your calendars. Friday, December 5th, I'll be on the call for Albertville at Guntersville. That'll be a war. That will definitely be a war. So I know you'll talk about Albertville a little bit. I think they're legit, boys and girls, especially girls. So, yeah, be some tough games ahead for the Cats.
Yeah. Well, let's jump over to DAR real quick. So DAR's girls, they are 2-2 right now. They have they're hosting Fife tonight. Them and the boys will be. They'll have Fife coming in, and then they'll have Locust Fork next week and Brindley Mountain. With that, the boys are 1-2. Again, like I said, they'll have Fife coming in, and then they've actually play Skyline in Brindley Mountain next week. So looks like they'll be jumping into a little Thanksgiving tournament next week. So then, like you said, let's jump over here to Arabs girls. Arabs girls are 0-3. They played Aberville the other night and went and watched that game. It was a pretty tough game. As talking to Coach Mays, and we've talked, I know he's kind of a younger team. He lost a lot of seniors last year. I think he said it was 9 seniors he lost last year on the varsity girls side. So basically a completely brand new team. He's got a couple girls that had played up last year some, but he's got one girl that was going to be kind of his main impact player. They lost when volleyball was going on. She tore her ACL. She's done for the year. So she won't be back in time, but and she's a senior on top of that. So that was a tough loss and tough for her as well. We wish her the best, but they hung in pretty well with Aberville. I'll be honest with you, despite all that. They only lost by 15 the other night. So,
and it was really closer than the score. Albertville could never really pull away, and I personally don't know Coach Mays, but I think he did a great job coaching the other night, because it'd have been easy for those girls to fold.
Yeah.
But they battled, and I could tell Coach Smallwood was a little frustrated with her bunch not being able to really get that killer instinct and put Arab away, which is what they really should have done, being at Albertville especially. But you got to give the Lady Knights a lot of credit. I mean, they battled the whole 4 quarters.
Well, I caught up with Coach Smallwood last night, just briefly. Saw her in passing, got to talk to her for maybe like 5 minutes, and I appreciate her time for that. And I was talking to her. I just asked her, I was asking her some questions about the game because there was a double technical at one time. Just asked her, I was like, what went on with that? What caused that? And she was telling me and everything, just kind of humor, just some stuff, that happened, some things that were said and stuff. And I just kind of chuckled about it, Being I'm a basketball official too, I kind of laughed about it. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And but she said that that Arab actually done a pretty good job defensively against them. I don't know what they did to really stymie them and really just to kind of keep them kind of frustrated all night. But Aberville's girls only shot 23% from the floor all night.
Oh wow!
So that should tell you something. I think Laney only ended up like 20-something points, barely like 20-something points on the night, and she's been averaging close to 30-something a game since this season started. So Arab's girls done a pretty good job. Like I said, they're still kind of working in. They've only 3 games in. See kind of how they play out and stuff as they go. Again, they'll be at Boaz tomorrow night, and then they have Lauderdale County next week and Athens next week. So jumping over to the boys. The boys at Arab have only played 2 games. They played Randolph and Iberville. Both those games they lost. The Randolph game, I'm going to be honest with you, it was close. It was 65-62. Come down to the very end of the game. Arab actually had a shot to tie it up there on a 3, and it was just missed. But Randolph's boys shot the lights out of it that night. I don't know what their shooting percentage was from three-point land, but I know they had one kid, I think he missed 1 3 all night long, and I think he ended up with around 18 points. I think he was like 6 for 7 from the three-point line, and just it was ridiculous. But they shot the ball really, really well.
That kid, Chris, I was thinking about when I saw him Saturday, but they only hit like 3 threes against Gunnersville. They didn't shoot well at all, but they had this one kid now. If you let him loose, I could tell he could light it up.
Number 4?
4 with the glasses?
Yep. Yep, and he was talking the whole game. Every time he hit one, he was talking. So, yeah, he was. I'm pretty sure he was about 6 for 7. I'd like to see the stats on that. I'll have to dig into it and see, but I think he was around 6 for 7 on that night. So, but they look. I mean, they looked pretty solid that night. Then the other night when Arab played at Iberville, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Iberville's boys. I know a lot of people are talking about the girls, but these boys are going to be something to watch as the season goes on. I could easily see them getting back to regionals again. Keandre had a great game, and I'm gonna tell you something. Any of the teams that have to play him better not sleep on him as a 3-point shooter, because the kid can shoot a 3. He's not a big down low. He can shoot from anywhere on the floor.
Yeah, he's going to be a matchup problem for anybody this year. And Arab, they've graduated a lot of boys and all, and I've talked to some people at Arab, and they were thinking that this year might be a tough year for the boys. Of course, I know Coach Cruz is probably going to get the most out of them. I saw, you might know him. Who was it that was not dressed, the big boy on the bench? Because
Stafford Willis, yeah.
He looked like a monster over there, and I'm thinking, I wonder how long he's going to be out for, because I can tell he's going to be a presence when he gets back.
So he's the one that I mentioned earlier that got hurt in the Fairview game. That he's a starting left tackle, has multiple offers from D1 schools in football. He's just a junior. Really good athletic kid. He was the one in the defensive line that was just blowing Fairview's offensive line up. But he would get hit on kind of I don't want to say a cheap shot, but it wasn't a very good thing that the kid did the way he did it. Basically kind of grabbed him and slung him around there and slammed him on his shoulder, and he went down with his shoulder issue in the second quarter of that Fairview Arab game a couple weeks ago. And so he's still out with that. He's rehabbing that. From what I understand, he'll be back the week after Thanksgiving. So
should be back for area play.
Yes, he should be back for area to play. The way they talked is the pace he's going right now. I've actually talked to him a little bit too, so I saw him up there where he's rehabbing and stuff, and I've talked to him a little bit. But he's planning to be back. But now I'm gonna be honest with you, his brother Tucker's the other one. He's number 1. He's 6'7", just a 10th grader. Between him and then you had number 11, I believe the kid's name's Chase, that plays from Arab, shot the ball really, really well against Randolph, but in the Iberville game just never really could get going good. But But Tucker and Zach Hallman were pretty much the two that everybody was looking to kind of lead them in that game. I know Zach kind of had a little bit of a struggle, just never really could get a shot off. I mean, Aberville just basically face guarded him all night. They put a lock on him. I think he finally got a couple points off there in the fourth quarter. I think he ended the night with 5. But they've locked him down. Last year, I think they said last year he didn't even score but like 3 points. Maybe the year before he didn't score any. So they see him as a threat. Aberville always does. But Tucker, I know, is a little bit injured. I know he's got a little bit of a back issue. He's working through, and you can tell that when he plays. He's just not at 100% when he plays. So you got your two main guys there that should be your two leading scorers that just didn't really have a good game against Aberville. So that hurt them a little bit. They would end up getting beat by 34, I think, is what the final score was. But nothing against Aberville. I'm not taking anything from Aberville. I'm gonna say this: Aberville shot the lights out of it that night. The girls might have not have shot good from the floor, but the boys did, because every time Arab went down and hit a 3-pointer, it was like Aberville would come back and say, "Tag, you're it," and they would come down and pop one off. And I think it was 15-0 before Arab scored there, wasn't it? Something like that.
It was
15.
It was never in doubt. Of course, Arab, you got to give them credit for not quitting, but they were really overmatched, and it just never was a contest. Albertville's a real deal. I mean, they got some kids. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens when Albertville hits the road for a game. I want to say all their games, if I'm not mistaken, has been at home. I know the boys, it has been at home. Girls maybe have been neutral side or on the road, but I think all the boys' games, I think the boys are what?
The boys, they're 2-0.
Yeah, so, and they
played Florence and Arab, and that's it. Right now they're 2-0, and the Florence game was pretty close. The Arab game wasn't. But now they host Sardis tonight. Now Friday night they go to Fort Payne, so I'm curious to see the Fort Payne game. I'll be honest with you, I'd like to see that Fort Payne game on Friday night.
And last I heard, Fort Payne, I don't know who they played, but they're still winless.
Yeah. So they're going to have some games coming up. They're going to have Spain Park next week. So we'll really be able to test out. They got Tuscaloosa County. We'll be able to test out Aberville on the road, because they actually, I think they're playing in a tournament next week. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how they play in these teams and see really what does the boys have. But they're 2-0, and then jumping over the girls are 5-0. Really, I'm gonna be honest with you. Looking at it, the Hazel Green and the Arab game are the two closest games. Both them teams are undefeated, so they got a pretty good little streak. We'll see how they do over the course of the next week, picking up in some of these games and Thanksgiving and stuff like that. We'll see some of their tests as they do come up in the area, play in December. So, but with that, Greg, that's kind of where we're at with basketball. So one announcement we do want to make, though. We are going to be hosting a media days for baseball and softball. To my knowledge, Greg, I don't know about you, but I think this is the first time ever there's been a media days for baseball and softball for Marshall County. We'll be hosting it January the 17th. We'll be live streaming it from our pages and stuff like that for everybody to be able to watch. So with that, we want to kind of throw out a couple of the sponsors and stuff that's jump on board to be able to help us put this together, and that's Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is going to help us out by feeding them. And then we want to thank Papa Doobie's. Papa Doobie's is going to be the one hosting it. I know for a long time Papa Doobie's was the one hosting the football until it just got to where it was so big they moved it. But definitely want to thank those guys for hosting it. Thank Hydrant City as well. And then we want to thank Playwell Performance. Playwell Performance is helping us out with the sponsorship as well with that. So want to thank those 4 sponsors for helping us be able to put this together, so you'll be able to get some more information about this, but it'll be January the 17th. I know it's going to be a pretty big day. That's actually county finals day for basketball as well, but we'll start that pretty early in the morning. We'll wrap it up sometime before we can get into the finals and stuff for basketball, and then we'll carry some coverage for county finals that day as well. So but just wanted to throw that out there. And give that announcement out so some people could kind of block that off and kind of have that going forward. That's something pretty big and important we're looking forward to doing there. So
that's great. I can't ever think of that being done before for baseball or softball.
No, and that's one sport to me, honestly, and there's some others that, that I kind of want to, let's work on starting to get some highlights and stuff on. But that's one sport there between baseball and softball that you really don't see a lot of media coverage and stuff on in this area. You see it with football. Football's a big sport in the South period, basketball being the next one, but there's a lot of talented baseball and softball athletes around here that are going off and playing college ball and stuff like that we really want to give a highlight to and give them an opportunity to be able to, to see and show off what they can do and everything like that. And they put in just as much work as the baseball or, as the basketball and the football teams do as well. So,
yeah, unfortunately, your spring sports don't get the recognition as your fall and winter sports do. But you're right. They work just as hard, and we need to definitely spotlight them, no doubt.
Definitely. So with that, like I said, looking forward to kind of see how the football games turn out. We'll report on that next week, give an update on where we're at with basketball and all. So anything other than that, Greg, you want to throw out?
That's it. Wrapping up football and full swing of basketball. So I'll be at the Buckhorn game tonight. So I'll be able to give an update on it. That'll be the only game I will actually cover until after the holiday. I might try to go to the Boaz Arab game tomorrow night, but I've been gone so much this week I have to reintroduce myself to my wife at some point in time. So I don't know if I'll make it to Boaz tomorrow night. Are you heading anywhere tonight or this weekend to see anybody?
I actually have games I've got to officiate tonight. I've got 2 games I got to go officiate. They didn't end up moving them because of some of the games, so I've still got to go officiate them. But then I'm planning to go watch that Boaz Arab game tomorrow night. We'll kind of see. I hadn't decided between it and football yet, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. So,
okay, well, if I can make it, I'll see you over there. But I'll definitely be at the Gunnersville game tonight, and I'd like to try to catch. One thing I love about the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, is the holiday tournaments and classics and all. So I'm going to try to, if at all possible, around work, try to go catch some hoops next week. I think a lot of people are hosting tournaments and events Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week that our county teams are taking a part of.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be missing those. I was looking forward to them. I know there's a big tournament I believe Boaz is putting on. Maybe I can't remember who it is, but there's a big tournament that I was wanting to go to. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it. I've got to have knee surgery on Monday, so I'm going to be out of commission for a few days. So I'm going to miss that next week. I'm not going to get to see anything of that. I'm going to do good to be able to hobble into Thanksgiving. So
I hope you don't have the knee problems I'm afraid I do. I actually have to go, oddly enough, for an MRI this weekend on my knee that's bothered me for a while, and I'm finally getting checked out. So I'll find out what I'm facing after my MRI, I guess. So I guess that's what happens as you get older.
Yeah, that's unfortunately what happened to me. I didn't take care of my legs whenever I was in school, and I didn't do a good job stretching stuff. I know that's what it is, but then as I've gotten older, I didn't take care of myself. But yeah, I had an MRI, so I've got to have my knee scoped. And unfortunately, that's come about with officiating. I found it out during officiating when your knees just kind of don't want to go sometimes. So,
well, I hope that
fixed. I appreciate it. So, but other than that, we'll call it in here. We want to wish again Plainview, Geraldine, and Scottsboro, and as well Fairview good luck this week. In football, I want to wish the Boaz girls flag football team good luck as they go on, and then all the basketball teams playing up in the next week. So other than that, appreciate all your time, Greg. Thank you, Stephen, for all your help, and we will see you next week on Beyond the Blitz Scoreboard.
See you.